How's it going, everybody? It's Ryan, going to go over some notes on the biceps and some problems I've been having, and maybe this is some of the stuff that you are having trouble with. And what this has to do with why the bicep doesn't contract if you're having trouble with elbow pain, shoulder pain, or just maybe bodybuilding. You're having trouble with strength training. And that's kind of the title of this video, is about bicep pain, or why your bicep can't contract one side harder than the other. And kind of talking about my experience with some of the issues I've been having and how you can learn from my mistakes. But I figure I'd get started, since this is a strength training channel. It's a powerlifting channel. It's basically kind of why I started this whole thing, kind of what it's turned into for me. But kind of what I want to talk about is like some ideas and some thoughts that I've learned throughout the years as far as being a personal trainer, and some of the education I have, and just talking about physiology and whatnot. And one of the things to consider is that a stretched muscle is going to get a weak. This is not always, it depends on the context in which you understand this information or hear it. Is that if you take the time to stretch your hamstrings or your quads every single day, all the time, for extended periods of time, and you are able to lengthen a shortened muscle or just make it longer because it's, or just improve its ability to flex, if that makes any sense. That actually doesn't make any sense if you think about it, because the more you stretch your muscle, the more weak it's going to become, because you're going to start to get loosening of the tissues. Because remember, rigidity is one of the things that allow for the muscle to be strong and stiff, and it's kind of what allows people to have stable joints. So a lot of the time you think about this, why is people's lower back tight, why are your lats tight? Maybe you sit a lot, maybe you overuse your lower back a lot. If there's one thing that's for certain when it comes to the lower back and the spine, is that the spine wants to be protected. The discs and the nerves in there don't want to get destroyed, and one thing that's really bad for the discs and then the nerves in there is to be in a rounded position in the lower back and the lumbar spine. To go against these curvatures is very hard on the body. And kind of on this note about the lumbar spine and kind of the wrong way to bend, which is obviously rounding forward, is that that part of the body is connected to the biggest muscle in the body, which is your glutes and the lower half. It's a transitional point, and it makes sense to why people have problems in the lower back, because it's essentially a smaller muscle group region that's attached to a very big muscle group region, and sometimes there's some miscommunication that causes some issues. But going on a tangent, it takes a long time for these issues to occur. Lots of sitting, lots of bad motor pattern, lots of bad habits over the course of years, months, lots of time. It takes a really long time. People who are really flexible, of course, are probably born, have a genetic predisposition to be there, but a lot of the other time too is that they may have these patterns, like for example using a mouse, using a phone, using a keyboard, that kind of result in sort of bad motor patterns. Maybe wearing high heel shoes or elevated shoes like boots or some whatnot. They call tight calves, and they affect the way the body moves. One thing I discovered today is that my left arm is stupid. For whatever reason, I cannot press. Sure, I can hold. This is my strongest gripping hand. This is my overhanded grip when I deadlift. I can hold probably 600 pounds with this hand fairly easily, whatever that means. But my point is that I can hold it. But the problem is that maybe my elbow problem could be resulted of overuse of these tissues. It could be overuse of these tissues. Who knows? It's really hard to totally explain, because I'm not a physical therapist, and I'm describing this with the context of being a powerlifter with problems, having a good education in the body, and lots of experience. Is that I have trouble curling 25 pounds with this arm. I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced not being able to do something where your arms just like, or maybe just think of a difficult exercise like a snatch, or maybe an overhead squat, maybe a pull-up, just something where you just do not have the brain power, if that makes any sense, or the motor learning to actually do the movement. It's not that it's heavy or hard, you just can't do it. And that's sort of what my hand feels like, or my arm feels like. I can't squeeze my bicep, or I'm trying to flex it. And this happened I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking about why, and I googled some stuff briefly, found some stuff on bodybuilding.com. Why can't I flex? And I came across one thread that said, why can't I flex my left bicep like my right bicep? And I was trying to flex my right bicep, and I can feel it. It contracts pretty good. I have good strength here. I can get a good grip. This is tight, although this is not my stronger hand. It feels stronger, but it's not. It slips out of my hand, especially overhanded. Whereas this hand, on the other hand, I can't flex this bicep as good. Let's go see some guns there. Hardly impressive. Okay. The point is that this has trouble contracting. So So I remember getting stuck today doing 25 pounds. I don't understand why I couldn't curl it. It was ridiculous. Let me look at my notes here. So what I ended up doing to kind of help strengthen it was to do 10-pound dumbbells. Like literally, this is ridiculous. I'm sitting down doing 10-pound dumbbell curls, and then I'm doing drop set with 5-pound dumbbell curls. Now, why would you do this? Well, part of it is you're trying to reconnect your brain to those muscles and to that area. So that way, now because I did that today, I can actually flex my bicep harder than I did yesterday. And it's kind of like that's what builds strength. It's not just the actual muscle that's building, it's also the way the nervous system is connected to that. And another thing too, I was trying to overhead press 25 pounds. I thought I'd start light, and then I was going to go to maybe 40 pounds or 50 pounds. But you know what? I could barely get that up. And why was that? Because there's something going on with this elbow. It doesn't hurt. Well, of course it will hurt if I force it, but it doesn't really hurt. It's more like my brain does not want to make this function. It's almost like there's some incorrect wiring due to some poor issues. And kind of this takes me to the main point of this video, is that all the deadlift I've been doing, all the progress I've been making with my heavy deadlifts has probably, you know, I'm doing over under like this all the time, right, with my left hand down and my right hand facing away from me, palm up, is that my right bicep gets stretched out a lot. I remember in one meet I felt the stretch, and I ended up not doing a third attempt because I felt something in my shoulder. And you got to remember that the bicep is a shoulder muscle, and it connects to the scapula, part of the shoulder blade, and it kind of holds the arm. It's part of the muscles that keep the arm in the socket and stabilize the shoulder. It's part of the movement. Of course, it causes shoulder, elbow flexion, but there's also some shoulder flexion as well involved with the bicep muscle. And I think because over time that tendon and muscle has gotten stretched from all my heavy deadlifting, what happened was my bicep has gotten very weak because of it. Now, is that the only reason? No, it's the fact that I haven't done bicep curls for freaking almost a year. And why I refuse to do them is because I just find them boring. And this is my main testament of today. If you hate doing accessory work, here is one thing coming from someone who has a lot of experience, with my body and with injury and working with clients, is that my pattern overload of deadlifting, the consequences from pattern overload to get better at deadlifting so I can lift more weight and do better at my squats and whatnot and get stronger, has caused some bad muscle adaptations, in this case in the upper body and the biceps, causing it to get really weak and make it sort of act the way it is. And essentially this is not really that big of a deal because it's not a problem. It's just something I might be being a little too anal about. But the one thing to consider when it comes to this shoulder and this bicep is that, have I not had this information, or have I not had this education or understand what's going on with my body or my experience, I would ignore it and it would probably break. I'd probably snap this shit off, and eventually. And the reason why is because I wouldn't know what's going on. I would just keep kind of plugging away. But because I know this stuff and I understand it, it's expected that I need to work on my biceps more. I know it's that simple, but maybe you don't have the problem that I do, because a lot of the time, a lot of the things that we do take a really long time to occur. How do you know if something's working? Some things take a really long time before you realize that they're working positively or negatively. Some things will work positively and then eventually work negatively. The consequences of me doing too much heavy deadlifting, especially frequently, without doing enough accessory work like I should, has caused me to have these imbalances that affect me in negative ways. It's probably one of the reasons why I can't do pull-ups anymore. Partly the reason why I didn't do pull-ups because my elbow was bothering me, but that just comes to show and tell you that really what was wrong with my bicep, or why I'm having elbows, because this forearm flexor is weak, or it's weak in a certain way. I don't know if I would call it, because the reason why I don't want to say it's weak is because I can hold a lot of weight, I have the strength here, but for whatever reason it's weak in this sense for the elbow, and I can't, and my bicep here, and you think about holding the bar here, because I don't have a strong enough bicep or strong enough back muscle to keep my elbow back, I have to sacrifice by pushing into the bar, causing this valgus elbow pain. But I should be able to tolerate some valgus elbow pain because my body's strong. I'm a strong guy. But the problem is these poor motor patterns and some weaknesses in the system make it so that this bicep or elbow junction point with the forearm gets overused very easily over time. I just remember 6 months ago, I did not have these problems. It's kind of crazy how you just let things progress. What else was there? And this is kind of connecting CrossFit, which is sort of the title of this video, but I'm getting kind of late into it, is that how CrossFit is like powerlifting. is that we all want to get better, right? I'm not saying I like CrossFit. I'm not going to say that CrossFit is anything positive or that they're good for you or whatnot. I'm just saying simply it's just what it is. CrossFit's CrossFit, powerlifting's powerlifting, bodybuilding is bodybuilding. And in the chase and the efforts to push yourself to get better, you do too much work. You do too much of the stuff that you can't do that are very complicated. Maybe you want to deadlift more and you can't deadlift well. Maybe you want to do more pull-ups or muscle ups or snatches and cleans, you know, stuff like that. Or maybe you want to do more snatches, or maybe you want to do more benching like I do, too much volume sometimes, or want to do too much squatting. They have a lot of unintended consequences because you end up having these poor motor patterns. Because the truth about it is, as you push yourself, you overload your body, and these habits from your lifestyle kind of migrate themselves in to your workouts. Because the truth is, most of us that watch these videos and are into fitness are not professional athletes. You know, we are recreational athletes. Maybe we're high level, but I'm not high level, of course. I'm not saying that, but I know there are some high level people out there, but you're not high level. We have regular jobs, we have day jobs. This is something that we enjoy, it's our passion. But my point in making this video is that there are things that make us have bad habits, that have bad training practices. In my case, wasn't training my biceps, not working enough lateral raises, not working enough rear delts, not working enough all the stuff that has kind of got me to this point before I got into powerlifting, just regular bodybuilding stuff, getting stronger and making myself look like I go to the gym. And my point of saying CrossFit and powerlifting is that we get stuck trying to obsess over these patterns, wanting to improve our technique, eke every technique we can out of our deadlift, our squat, our bench, and really get the technique down, and then find our weak points and really get stronger and work on a secondary movement that's very similar to the main movement, but it's basically the same movement. Maybe you're going flat bench and then you're doing incline bench, right? Or maybe you're doing a flat bench, you're doing close grip bench. Maybe you're doing squats and then you're doing box squats. Maybe you're doing powerlifting wide stance squats and then you're going ass to grass Olympic style squats, you know? Maybe you go deadlift and you go stiff legged deadlift, and then you go block pulls and you go sumo pulls. They're all basically this very similar motor patterns, but we don't work on improving the muscles of our body because we're so obsessed with, in CrossFit, trying to get a muscle up, so obsessed with trying to clean and jerk more weight, so obsessed with trying to snatch more weight, so obsessed with trying to do burpees for time or get really good at box jumps and just really hammer ourselves trying to finish the workout. And as we kind of make fun of sometimes CrossFit and what they do, powerlifting is very similar in the sense that we want to lift more weight, we want to do more work, we want to stimulate our central nervous system so much so that we're able to build more adaptation so that we can lift more weight, handle more volume, and be stronger. Essentially get strong at any cost. It's just that the training practices are different, but they're also very bad because we get caught up in trying to train the same pattern too often without training the same muscle. And this ties into that video I've mentioned a few times in different videos, Learn to Train 8 by elite FTS guy, favorite one, cool dude, love this guy so much. Dave Tate, talking about working a muscle versus working a movement. Because as powerlifting, we're trying to work a movement pattern to get better, get stronger, become efficient, improve technique. And then in working a muscle, like in bodybuilding, you're just trying to hammer that muscle so it gets stronger. And one thing for sure is this left side is definitely underdeveloped, and it's sort of almost dumb. I've learned how to kind of keep it solid and packed in tight for deadlifts. I know how to keep it tight and back fairly enough for bench. But because of that, I haven't been training the muscle in sort of these motor patterns, not doing enough rows. I've made it weak for other things. And it's showing up now. It took a long time to get to this point. So, learn from my mistake. I think that's a big part of why I have elbow pain. It's not the only reason, but it's definitely one of the reasons. And that's kind of what I'm sharing you. And again, as a band-aid fix to all this, there's always a band-aid fix, but it's not the root cause. Like the band-aid fix to fixing my elbows, to wear a sleeve, to voodoo floss, to roll. But that's not the root cause. That's just a way to quick fix and get through it so I can train. It doesn't really fix what I'm doing wrong. It doesn't change the pattern, because ultimately it's a pattern that we do wrong so often that leads to problems like sitting down all day. You know, not warming up, right? These are poor practices. If you're bad at not warming, if you're bad at doing your warm-ups properly, and you'd like to train hard, there's a good chance you're going to get hurt very soon. Not now, especially if you're in your early 20s, but as you train harder and harder and you get stronger and stronger and you just try to keep pushing yourself, you're going to get hurt for not taking care of the ability to warm up because you're not warmed up. It's just kind of what happens. Anyways, this video is quite long. If you got to this point, please click a thumbs up. If you like to add to this discussion, I'll make more videos like this, because I think this is one of those, it's a long video that probably will only get like 100 views, but I think it's an important video that I'll make probably once or twice a week and talk about basically what powerlifters struggle with, or just basically what I struggle with. And I'm sure to some degree there are people out there that are in the strength training that run into the same problem, because they are in love with what they do. They love to freaking lift. They love to get strong. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.